I'm asked all the time, how do I modify ab exercises and things like Insanity and Focus T25, and I hear so many different reasons why people struggle, whether it's wrist issues or, let's face it, because I work with a lot of plus size women, we're bigger women, so our tummies get in the way. Sometimes we don't have the core strength to do these things, and it can feel frustrating, but believe me, it doesn't have to be, and core strength is everything. I have found in my own experiences that my core is the quickest to build and the quickest to lose. So in other words, I have to keep doing it. And one of the things I really loved about, for example, like Insanity and especially Focus T25, because it offers modifiers, is how quickly it builds my core. So some of the things that people struggle with, for example, are the shoulder tap. Like in a plank, you do the shoulder tap. Sorry, I'm not a pro at this. I'm just a chick on the journey, so bear with me. But how do I go about doing the shoulder taps? Okay, so I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I can actually do this now. I wasn't at this point before. It took me a long time to build this up, and I had to build my core. So in Focus T25, I tend to keep my feet apart like this, and it asks us to do a shoulder tap. And at 252 pounds, I can do that. But I didn't start there. So what I would recommend to myself, I should say, is that if I can't do the shoulder plank, or the shoulder tap and the plank, I just didn't do them. I found something else that would strengthen my core. So you can start with the plank. So you could, if you wanted to gradually get up to the shoulder tap, you could do it on your knees, tighten your core, and just tap. Or just do it one way. If you're not at that point yet, focus on building your core like this. And you can check out my plank video on YouTube for more details on how to do that properly. So this is where I'd start. That's it. Keep it really, really simple. Build your core. Okay, so when I started doing core exercises and I started doing Insanity, I started with Insanity. I did not start with Focus T25 only because it didn't exist. So now I start women like me off with Focus T25 for very good reason. So when they were doing push-ups, I did my push-ups here. And I would take my feet out, you can't really see them from this angle, and I would do my push-ups from right here. And so when I first started, maybe I could only get a little bit of movement. And then over time, I would get deeper. Now I can do a pretty decent push-up. I can't get really, really deep, but guess what I did today? I modified my push-ups. I was in a class, and they actually have one of those ballet bars. I took the ballet bar, and I positioned myself, and I did my push-ups there. So I still modify my push-ups depending on how much of a workout I've already had, how much I need to modify. There's no shame in modifying. So if you can't get up and down on the ground, I started on the wall. And this built up so much of my core and so much of my ability that I eventually moved to the back of a heavy-duty couch. I eventually moved to heavy-duty countertop, etc., etc., etc. Dropped to my knees and started doing regular push-ups, trying to go as deep as I can. I'm always falling back into my modifier and coming back out of it. If you're having a hard time getting up and down, start against the wall. That's where I started. Okay, so I've been asked about the left, right. So you go left, you go right, and then the push-up, right? Well, let's see. I'm just going to try to give it a shot and see in a full plank, can I do it? It's about as deep as I can go. Okay? That's what I can do right now. I didn't start that way. You can very easily do that exact same movement on the wall. So I'm going to look like a mime for a second. But do a push-up, move your arm out, put your body weight that way, do another push-up, middle, push-up again, arm out, push-up. Doesn't make sense, right? I'm just a chick on the journey. Just bear with me and my cat. So I started that one on the wall. And you can see how far I've come at this point, right? So if you are able to get on the floor, I would stay on your knees. And you could do a push-up as far as you can go. And then I would just move out this way and do it to the side. And then come back in the middle again. Hi, Rocky. He's doing push-ups too. Okay, so as far as the Spider-Man and like an oblique knee push-up, I get it. I've lost about 2 feet in my middle, but I mean, I still got a tummy, and it still gets in my way with certain exercise. A little bit less so because the volume is less on the side, but if you're going down to do crunches and things like that, what mass you have up here will get in your way. doesn't mean that you're going to get less of a core workout. I actually think you get a better one because you're more focused on your form and more focused on that crunch. But, because I'm out of breath showing you guys all this stuff. So if you're doing like Spider-Mans on the floor, you could very well do those against the wall. You just have to make sure that you have the right surface and the right wall and things like that. You have to be paying really close attention to that. But I actually learned this from my husband. He has multiple sclerosis, and he had a hard time with his legs. So you want to talk about having a hard time getting up and down. How about having your inspiration be someone who was in a wheelchair who started P90X on his hands and knees? So I learned a lot from him. And what he used to do was, when they were doing the Spider-Mans, he would, stand upright, he would engage his core, he would tighten his core like this, take his hands, and then he would just crunch and crunch. So when I started, because I had a lot more going on, my belly was down here, and there's a lot more here, this is the reality. And I've heard people say, well, then you're in your hip flexor more. I don't know, I'm just a chick on the journey. This is what I did. I had to put my knee out a little bit more to get around my tummy, and I went as high as I could. So when I first started, maybe I could only do this much, but it doesn't mean that I'm not crunching on this side. So when my tummy was bigger, maybe it only allowed me to do this. I'm still getting an oblique workout. So I did the Spider-Mans upright. See, it's the same exact motion, and then you can do them on your knees as well too. I've done that. I find it a little awkward, but you can definitely do them on your knees. Same thing for oblique push-ups. Anything that is anything that requires you to be on the floor and use a single leg like that, I just do it off to the side. And then even for some of the other exercises, let's say for example, floor sprints. So when I do floor sprints, that's here. Hold on. This is the reality of life. It's time to pick up my son from school and turn off the alarm. When I did floor sprints, I couldn't do those either, y'all. I really could not do floor sprints. I didn't have the upper body strength to hold myself. I wasn't able to move my knees that far in because I was constantly kicking myself in the belly. I mean, that's the reality of it. Between my legs and my tummy, I can only get so far. Same thing with this, look, people do quad stretches. I can't, ooh. Okay, it's the first time I've ever grabbed my ankle and it's on film. I wasn't able to do that, okay? So what I would do is, when they're doing floor sprints and you can't do them, this is what I would do. I stand upright, learned it from my husband with MS as well, and he would actually hold on to something because sometimes it's unsteady, and I would do the exact same thing, and I would just crunch forward, and I would go as far up as my tummy would allow me to go. But it didn't mean I was contracting less in my core. Does that make sense? So I'd squeeze up as much as I couldn't hold it. Squeeze up as much as I couldn't hold it. I didn't worry about speed. I didn't worry about the fact that I didn't look like them on television, whether in physique or in ability. I just knew I had to build my core. So those are some of the things that I did to get through it. And while I can do some of the exercises pretty close to what they do, I can't hang with them the entire time. I can't keep up with them the entire time, and I don't care. So anybody who says when you're modifying, you're getting less of a workout, send them to my page, and you tell them I'm the Modify Queen. All my results have come from hardcore modification, and I'm sharing with you what I was able to do to get the results that I have so far. And I've just begun.